So we have a very special episode coming up with a very special guest joining us here tonight, and we're just going to cut through the crap, bring him in, and talk shop here. So, friend of the show, longtime listener, I guess he's our friend as well, Mr. Ben Donohue. So, Ben, we're happy to have you on here. Why don't you go ahead and fill us and the audience in on how you came to be a fan of Game of Thrones and the world of Westeros, and what's on your resume? What have you watched and seen and read and all that good stuff, Ben?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a long time in the making. I was a late bloomer in terms of Game of Thrones. I didn't start watching until about 2 years ago. Kind of urged from you guys, and then my fiance was like, you should really watch it. It's super good. So to say I binged it would be an understatement. I was working like 60, 70-hour weeks, and I was still pulling out 2 episodes a night. Just midnight rolls around, we look at each other, yeah, one more, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta be up at 5:30, it's fine. Like, so I think we finished the entire series in like 2 months. So
Damn.
yeah, burned through it, loved it, obviously. And then obviously I've been watching House of the Dragons, probably my favorite show that's active right now.
Nice.
And I just read the book. I won't go too far into that. But yeah, it's I'm enjoying it. It's good stuff.
Straight up. So yeah, when he was actually watching that and binging it, me and Lub got to kind of live vicariously through him because he was kind of live tweeting but texting to us as going through the seasons. Right. And if you're somebody who's watched the show and you're like getting these texts from people and being like, oh God, I remember what that moment was like when you think, Jon Snow is dead, when he dies, when something, spoiler alert, but if you're listening, you've seen it, I would imagine.
We spoiled that 2 episodes in a row now.
I know. Jon Snow dies, guys. Just freaking get over it.
Everyone knows.
He comes back. It's fine. But yeah, so it was just like, and it made it, I would get excited at least to be like, I can't wait till he watches this episode, see what he says on this one, because it's crazy. Like, he's getting to the Red Wedding, so I think I speak for both of us, and that was entertaining watching you go through it. Don't want the same on Fire and Blood, though, as you said. Keep it down over there. No live tweeting.
My best to not do that for you.
Straight up. Hell of a show, though. Hell of a show. Lub, what are your thoughts on that show? You got nothing but good things to say about it, right? There no gaffes or anything throughout?
Oh, the original series? It is still the best show of all time, but there are a lot of plot points that D&D forgot about, and there's a YouTube video I saw from Supercut Delights, and it was basically like the worst of all the plot points that D&D forgot. So I have a top 5 list with a couple OLIs. So we'll run through the OLIs outside looking in first, and it's what the bells mean. Tyrion said if the bells ring, don't attack. And through the entire series, it's been the exact opposite. You hear Davos when Stannis is about to attack King's Landing in season 2, and he says, I've never known bells to mean surrender. Like, quote unquote. So, like, whoops.
That's true. I didn't even think about that being contradictory, but he was right. I mean,
yeah,
he knew everybody else was wrong, I guess.
And the White Walker symbols, where'd those go? That was never really explained.
Yeah, that was
I kind of forgot about that, to be
right?
honest.
They like pinned that kid up to the wall and like made circular spirals. It was in episode 1, I think, too. Like, we saw it a lot, and hell yeah.
Yeah, not to interrupt, but part of the downside of binging is sometimes things get lost in the shuffle because there's just so much to remember, like especially now.
Well, and I was telling Lub, the first time I watched season 1, I did not pick up on like half of the stuff because there's so many characters and so much information that when I went and re-watched it, it was like, oh my God, I didn't pick up on any of this stuff. Like, it was like rewatching a new episode almost because there's so much stuff to pick up on.
And Mira Reed, Bran's homie, she went back to help her family out and then just never came back to the Battle of Winterfell or anything. And she was like a pretty big character throughout the majority of Bran's journey, like his sidekick.
Well, and a representative of their home showed up in the finale of season 8. Like, that could have been her.
Oh yeah,
like somebody came from there.
And Dario Naharis, Dany's boyfriend. Whatever happened to him? He's just hanging out over there waiting for her to come back.
He found some fighting pits.
And just Dorne in general. after Cersei kills them all, like, or kills the women? Like, where's the rest of that part of the country?
Yeah. It's a big part in the books, not so much in the show.
Right. And then Varys forgetting he's the master of whispers at the end and just, like, being a total dumbass and committing treason in front of everyone. The death of the Dothraki is also a pretty bad one, where they die at the Battle of Winterfell and then they're all back 2 episodes later in King's Landing.
Yeah.
And the last one for the OLI is no one mentioned Rickon's death.
OLI.
Yeah. But
No one
Rickon
mentioned
died.
what? Oh.
Rickon's death. They all got the Starks all met up at Winterfell in season 8, and no one asked where he was, what happened to him. They just forgot about their brother.
That's brutal. Well, maybe you should learn to run zigzags and people won't forget you so quickly.
All right, so let's get into the top 5.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Here we go.
Jon Snow's identity, or his true identity, and kind of slash the prince who was promised. That really doesn't get explained, or that prophecy doesn't come true, I'd say.
That should be number 1. They just dropped the ball on that. That was such a big thing that they just left untouched. Like, that was literally from the first episode of the show being built up on. I don't get how you abandon that one.
Ruining Jaime's character arc, and then not just with Cersei, when he has that line with Tyrion in the tent, when he says, "I didn't care much for them, innocent or otherwise." When literally his entire sacrifice when he killed the Mad King was to save the innocents of King's Landing, and they just totally switched that around the last season. Number 3, Cersei's prophecy, Maggie the Frog. Gold will be their crowns and gold their shrouds, and then the Valonqar. She does it to kill the Freys. She brings like a masks of different faces to Winterfell, but like just kind of doesn't use them again, I guess.
With
I think
such
she just
great
had, like,
opportunity at the end to like, man.
She was there in the Red Keep with her.
Yep.
You think she just like had a duffel bag full of faces that she like walked out of there with and was trekking with her? Because she had faces, unless she's killing them and treating the
On the
bodies
way.
like at the twins. Yeah, like she killed one of the servants and was just like in a back room prepping that face. I don't know. That was such a missed freaking, like, because that was such a cool thing. And what sucks about that, sorry, I don't mean to cut off too much here, but when you go back and you rewatch season 5 and you watch those scenes with Arya training at the House of Black and White, it just feels so pointless, because you know it literally, like, she's not really training for anything here except to be an expert fighter, which we didn't watch her train in at the House of Black and White, and that's the only thing we saw her become in the end when she defeats Bran and everything. So when you rewatch it, it's just like I skipped a couple of scenes because I know how just pointless it is.
And the last one, Bran warging into people or animals or interacting with the past at all. Like, he messes with Hodor, he finds out about Jon's identity, which doesn't lead to anything. And then through the entire Battle of Winterfell, Battle of King's Landing, like, he's nowhere to be seen, nowhere involved. But who has a better story than him, of course? And on top of that, he says he can't be the lord of anything. And then two episodes later says, Why do you think I came all this way? Yeah, that's so dumb.
Jackass. I take it back. That should be number 1.
Yeah.
The fact that we got the tease about you won't walk again, but you will fly. And what he ended up meaning was he'd turn into a crow and fly around and watch the battle from a bird's eye view instead of actually like help or participate or take over Drogon or Rhaegal or like that would have been so sick to have him warg a dragon. Then if he wargs a dragon and then they make him king, now I'm like, okay, guy's an absolute G, whatever. Just make him king. He can put his mind into a dragon and go just mess up anybody. Like, I don't. Wasted potential, that's number 1, and then I think Aegon at number 2. But yeah, that was brutal. Why? Like, why?
But we love the show, okay? We still love it.
Thanks for this trip down memory lane.
I think too, when you really like something and it's really good, it's easier to nitpick because you're just like, you love so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and to the extent of, I was kind of a season 8 defender for the first probably 6 months or so because people were pissed, and I watched it with my buddy Connor Visman, the homie Viz, at his apartment, and we both watched it. We watched the finale, the credits hit, and we're like, could have been better. I was like, well, I don't know about some of those decisions, but all right, that wasn't horrible. and everybody was going off, and I'm like, it wasn't that. It's still the best series I've seen. Like, season 8 wasn't horrible, and then every time I rewatch, I'm like, damn. I was telling Lub, even in season 5, quality starts dropping off in certain writing aspects of it. It's like, that didn't really make a lot of sense. So it did start as soon as the books
rewatch.
ended.
Once it gets to 5 and then like 6, like things start to get much more rushed and things are not leading places, and you're like, oh, like you just talked about the last few minutes, just that's a waste of time. Well,
yeah, the dialogue just is not as fine-tuned as it is in the earlier seasons, and then you realize, well, that's because they're taking conversations straight from the book.
There's no more books left after season 5.
Right. And I still love season 5. I think it's a great season. I think season 6 season 6 is still a great season. But that is when you start to see little holes popping up, whereas the first 4 seasons, as close as you get to flawless as far as 4 full seasons of a series go. Like, it was pretty incredible. So
it's just because they copy and paste the book for the first 2 seasons, though, you know?
They did put their own spins on things here
No,
and
there's
there.
extra scenes for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, once you lose that source material, the D&D holes started showing up. Still my best. It's still my favorite TV series of all time. It still takes a cake for me. But are you guys on the same boat, or do you have a TV series higher? Real quick, Ben, you got a TV series higher than Game of Thrones?
Nah, it's number 1. That's just hard to beat.
It is.
There's other series that are like, I would say, are at near the top, but there's just
better
less
endings,
meaning, less context. Like,
right?
I don't know, much simpler series. You know,
Yeah.
the that word.
Hell yeah.
In Game of Thrones, is just, there's nothing like it.
Straight up. No, yeah, there's just substance there, man. There's just a lot to bite into. So don't take the negatives as our take on the show. Welcome in to another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I'm your host, David Cochran, and here with me tonight is my co-host, Caleb Culver, and our special guest, Mr. Ben Donohue, guest of honor. Lucky for him, we here at Why So Sidious podcast take the custom of guest rights very seriously, so he will not have to worry about someone cutting his throat mid-episode or poisoning his food. What happens after? Can't speak to that, but guest rights.
There's no chainmail under our shirts?
There's no chainmail. You will not hear... Oh, no. The Reigns of Castamere start playing. I almost dropped the ball on that one. Wow. Anyways, so before we jump into why we're all here tonight, which is House of the Dragon, go ahead and check out some of our recent episodes we've been dropping. We've been covering House of the Dragon up to this point, every episode, because it deserves every episode covered. Then we have The Boys, which we covered the first half of the season in one episode. Go check that out. And The Acolyte, we've had to combine a couple episodes there because not the greatest show Star Wars has ever brought to us. Let's be real, but that's a different conversation. We got Novice Nerd out there, who is Cassandra Nova. JD went hard on that. It's a solid one. So if you're getting ready to go watch Deadpool and Wolverine, make sure you pop onto that and see who the hell this bald chick is and why she's so threatening and menacing. And you know, I'm not going to say anymore. Go listen to the episode. It'll be spoken much better over there. So also on the horizon here for us, be on the lookout for an episode we're doing for the Galactic Core podcast. Actually, our boy Andy is expecting a babe, an heir to his lineage. So we're gonna throw in one of our episodes there, help him out on the platform. We are going to be covering the Rings of Power. We got season 2 coming out in about a month here, so we're going to do a Rings of Power kind of ultimate guide episode, kind of like we used to do. We'll touch on all season 1's pros and cons, some of the gripes people had, and then expectations for it, the hunt for Gollum, War of the Rohirrim. It'll be Lord of the Rings packed, so if you're about that life, show up. We'll be doing that in about a few weeks here. And as always, social medias at WhySoCitiusPod, Instagram and X. Need your followings because TikTok is blowing up. We have broken 7.5K, trying to get to that elusive 10K, so go ahead and follow us over there if you haven't already. And if you're a newcomer from TikTok, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. We'll try not to blow it and lose your listening downloads.
Sorry, JD's not here.
JD is not here. He is the man who brought you here, though, and he will be back.
Yes.
He's not gone. He is still a part of the squad. He just got burned by a dragon, and he's resting up. He'll be back shortly. All right, let's get down to it. House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 5. I do not remember what the episode was called, so...
The Regent.
The Regent. Really?
They named that today.
Yep.
So... Interesting. That could mean a lot of people in this type of situation we're in. The Regent, Episode 5. Real quick, for those of you out there with short-term memory loss, I got your back. We'll do a quick recap of the episode. The episode starts off with a shot coming up on Driftmark, and we see Corlys mourning the loss of Rhaenys. R.I.P. Ring the bells. The head of Meleys is paraded through King's Landing, reinforcing Team Green's fetish of parading heads through the city. That's twice in one season. It's kind of weird. As Aegon does his best Viserys impression as he's brought to the Red Keep for healing, and to have the melted Valyrian steel armor peeled off his flesh, as Kristen Cole plays coy with Alicent as to how it happened. Rhaenyra's small council continues to undercut her, finally cutting to the chase and legitimately just saying she can't do it because she's a woman. So naturally, Rhaenyra turns to Mysaria for advice. Jace is continuing to show that he is an absolute G and is ready for the big show, displaying strategic competence and ambition. Daemon dreams about sexy time with his mother, an incredibly uncomfortable hallucination, in between recruiting the Blackwoods and the Brackens. Meanwhile, Team Green's small council is telling Alicent she can't lead in war because, that's right, you guessed it, she is a woman. In her stead, Aemond is chosen to be the King Regent. Jace, still being a legend, heads to the twins and secures a plan involving the Frey's help before coming back and convincing Rhaenyra to not only bring Vermithor and Silverwing into the game, but to recruit the known Dragonseeds in Westeros to ride them. If anyone is looking for the Jacaerys Targaryen fan club, you've come to the right place. I will start it right now. That man has a bright future, hopefully. I don't know. That's not a spoiler. I don't remember what happens to him, but hopefully it's bright. So... that was episode 5. Obviously, coming off episode 4, it's going to slow down a bit. It was an action-packed episode, and we usually have a little bit of a reaction episode afterwards. So it's slow. People respond to what happened, and that is what we got. Still had the quality of House of the Dragon all the way through it. So let's start off talking about King's Landing. That was messed up. So they got Meleys' head being paraded through King's Landing with smoke still coming off of it, it looked like. Which, what the hell? How'd they load it onto the
Blood,
cart?
maybe.
Yeah, because... So, real quick, Ben, did you notice that in episode 4? I was talking to Caleb about it last episode. When Sunfire got sliced by Meleys and was falling to the ground and then barely caught himself and, like, almost hit some of the soldiers, some of his blood came out and hit the soldiers. Did you see that at all? Okay, just straight melted them. Like, so we learned that dragon's blood is boiling because it was like hot oil got poured on them. That was crazy. So yeah, I guess that's why the head's smoking. But so Kristen's watching all the townspeople and they're like not cheering. And he's like, don't they know we won? And Sir Gawain says something along the lines of like, if you can call that a win. But Kristen thinks this is going to get the people going because, you know, he's kind of an idiot and he doesn't really understand King's Landing and he shouldn't be making any decisive calls. But Mysaria knew. She says later in the episode that it was a mistake to parade the head of Meleys around. The people will see it as an ill omen. And this was considered such an ill omen that in the book Fire and Blood, thousands of people actually left King's Landing after the dragon's head was paraded around. Like, they started trying to get out of the city during that point. Which brings us to a small change from the book. Later in the episode, Aemond orders the gates to be closed so no one can leave after they find out, or after they know they're starving because of the blockade and they start freaking out. But in the books, Alicent was the one who ordered the gates be closed, and she did that after the whole thing with Meleys. So there's a little change there. Ben, what'd you think of this opening scene here with Meleys' head being paraded and Kristen Cole, and how'd it make you feel?
I knew it was coming because, and obviously I had texted you right when I read that. On accident. That was the only spoiler I've got out.
It was on
Up
Next,
far.
So it's okay. You're
okay on
that
one,
but
at least you already knew she was dead, so it wasn't too much of a spoiler. But yeah, it was a good opening scene, especially like with the reaction of everybody, and just I hate Kristen so much, so just seeing him kind of like why doesn't everybody love me? I have a dragon's head, and everyone's just like, you're the only one not processing this right.
Yeah, right.
So it was good, and then seeing the hammer a little bit, making his little cameo in there, was good too.
Yeah, that was interesting. So we saw Dragonseed seeing the head being paraded through the city, which he's going to pop up. But love, how'd you like the opener here?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Jacaerys before, talking about how when he got paraded through the city, there was a lot of support for him. There was sympathy for what was going on, and now they see this dragon going through the town the same way. But like the one guy with Hugh says, I thought they were gods. So they think like a god has been killed just now, and they aren't on a different level than us. Like, so they're seeing the Targaryens in a totally different way now,
which kind of takes away some of their aura there, because Targaryens are also on your team. So now you're saying, oh, Aegon is not untouchable. Like all these people. So this move wasn't a smart play for a lot of reasons, but also because of that, they kind of destroyed the mythos of dragons and are flaunting how much the realm is in chaos right now.
Yeah.
Otto wouldn't have approved of that.
No, probably not. And maybe Kristen was thinking like, this is the dragon that killed a bunch of people in the dragon. I don't know why my brain can't think of the second part of that. The dragon
pit?
What? Yeah, there you go.
The dragon coronation.
Meleys busted through the floor during the coronation and killed a bunch of King Landing citizens. So, but it didn't land. So
the other part I didn't really think about till today was also these people are starving, and there's like hundreds of pounds of meat you're just dragging around. Obviously, you can't eat it, right? But just like psychologically, like, oh, this is smoked meat, right?
Yeah,
right. Probably smelled decent.
Desperate.
Yeah. So.
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
I heard today that Meleys and Vhagar were homies back in the day. Mm-hmm. So like they used to be friends, and now they're fighting each other just because their dragon riders are against each other.
Well, because who rode them together? I forgot, but I was reading about that too. Like they grew up riding together and were like pretty close as far as dragons go. I forgot if it was.
I think it's Daemon's mom.
Daemon's mom and Rhaenys. Were they friends?
Daemon's mom rode Meleys. So
right.
Whoever was riding Vhagar at that point, I think it was that at that time.
Yeah, which I don't know, because Jacaerys rode Velaryon, so I don't know who rode Vhagar at that point. I don't know. But, I don't know, but they were homies, and it makes the pain even more. Speaking of pain, Aegon rolls up, and they're removing the Valyrian steel off of his flesh, which is just absolutely brutal to watch. That was pretty gross. But he did make Viserys proud, because he looked exactly like him in the last decade of his life, laying on that bed with those bandages.
I was gonna say Anakin
on purpose. Oh, Anakin
like he just
too,
left
for
Mustafar.
sure. Yeah,
dude, it did.
Well,
it reminded me
legs.
so much of that. Just everyone around him, and
the doctors putting the Darth Vader, or the robots putting the Darth Vader suit on him,
and just like going into battle confident that you're gonna be fine, and not so much.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of parallels to Anakin there.
Actually, it made me think. Who's more like Anakin, Aegon or Aemon? Because Aemon has this total quick villain turn now, where he's just on the dark side trying to rule. It'll be his galaxy.
Yeah,
they both.
Aemon is more Vader, if that makes sense.
Right.
Just from the warrior aspect, Aegon's
a little bit.
And I guess he does have the Anakin side. He does have the Anakin side, to where Anakin was always wanting more and wanting to be acknowledged more, and saying, I'm the greatest fighter, I should be a master, whereas Aemon's kind of doing the same with the crown. So yeah, there's more at first I was going to say I don't think there's a lot of parallels between the two, but I guess there are. So I just kind of wish they would have mentioned how he survived. Good thing Sunfire turned and caught him or something. The fool fell hundreds and hundreds of feet while melted from Dragonfire. Huh?
Yeah. Well, they don't know what happened.
Yeah, I can't believe he's alive. But Aemon with the classic, someone's going to have to rule in his stead. Looks around, who's it going to be? It's so
Yeah.
that's another thing. He's always wanted the crown. Now he's got it. Which just shows, people out there, when you set your mind on a goal, you continue to manifest it in time, you might be able to tame a dragon and burn your brother half to death to attain that goal. So never give up. Dreams are always attainable. Never give up.
That was a part that was different from the book too, is right when him and Kristen Cole walk up to Sunfire, Cole turns to him and is like, "It's your time now, you have to rule." And so that happens like during that process.
Huh.
And then it's
Damn,
not,
I didn't know that.
there's no questioning with the small council with his mom. It's just like
Okay.
everybody knows already.
Right, yeah.
Right. Which makes sense. I feel like the way they did it in the show was purposefully trying to parallel Rhaenyra and a couple of other patterns, which we'll get to about Rhaenyra and her council. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. That's interesting, though. I didn't know that. Well, Kristen was a different character in the book. I don't think they fleshed him out a lot, but he was like a more highly regarded character than he kind of is like a clown now, right?
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
They did
of
a great job at making everybody hate him.
Straight up. Shout out to the writers and shout out to Fabian, because he's doing a pretty good job at making people hate him too. So
He's different in this episode though. Like he's
shook.
shell shocked. He's shooked. Like
Bro.
he says, we gave the fight to the dragons. Like this is above me now. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
yeah, this, like, him seeing the dragons wipe out soldiers totally freaked him out. Because even, which we'll get to it later, but Alicent, he throws his hat in the ring for Aemond, and Alicent's like, oh, so I guess you're only loyal if you're between my legs there. Not a loyal hoe, huh? But Kristen, like, he shook. Like, he sees those dragons doing that, and he's just like, a dragon rider needs to lead us. I mean, you grew up around dragons most of your life, and that still gave him that dragon PTSD to that limit. So it had me thinking, like, think of Jaime and Bronn. Like, how, because Kristen's changed from this experience. Think of how changed you would be considering warfare and going forward, which D&D kind of dropped the ball on. They could have gone into this more. But you grew up your whole life as dragons being in ancient history. They're not around. And then all of a sudden you go to war and you see Drogon coming into the loot train and melting everybody around you and just absolutely trivializing your entire army that just took over Highgarden. Like imagine how much they should have been changed mentally. Like the PTSD you would get from that after seeing what it did to Kristen when dragons were a thing. It's just crazy to think of. Like, that had to have shook them. And, okay, so real quick, while we're still at King's Landing, another thing about Aemond I wanted to ask you guys. So, the Cat's Paw Dagger is now in the possession of, like, the 6th person that we've seen now in live action that's had it. There's been a lot. But he's got it now. And after his training montages, there could be some dope little fight scenes with him and that dagger like we saw with Arya. But the main things I want to ask you is, do you think he's going to read the Song of Ice and Fire from it? Because it's engraved in the dagger. He's a studious young fellow, as we've come to see. He is trained in his Velaryon. He studies everything. He gets as much, like, he does his homework on everything. So I wonder if that's going to come into play. Did you guys think of that at all? Like, you think he's going to read the Song of Ice and Fire?
I didn't.
Either one of you,
I
sorry.
didn't think about that at all. But I could see him doing it. But I also think he's probably so overwhelmed with, like, he's the king now, essentially, if he has some downtime. But
Right.
I think he's got so much going on, and maybe if he was like aware of it, right? Because he's not, is
Right.
No, not at all.
No, nobody is. Yeah. Just accidentally drops it in the fire, picks it up. Whoa. That Valyrian?
Right.
he? Yeah, you never know. Things could happen.
Yeah, because I don't think you'd want to like clean that thing off in a fire like you would some like nasty old sword. You want to keep that thing nice. You're doing the lemon and salt like Kristen Cole was. I could see it though because he could use it to his advantage if he somehow figures it out. And because the dagger's not in the book at all. This is totally a thing made for the show.
That's right. I forgot about that.
The Aegon's
Which is kinda
prophecy
dope.
Aegon's prophecy is not in the book either. Yeah, everything about it.
In Fire and Blood, it's never mentioned. I didn't
No.
remember that.
No, but it makes sense because it's such a big part of the show that they
Yeah.
Right.
put it in there.
Yeah.
But
no,
obviously
I-
Dany
I
doesn't
like
know
that they
about it.
did.
Yeah.
Right. Right. No, she doesn't. So I never thought about that. I never considered that. Interesting. All right. let's head over to Dragonstone. Speaking about councils being super helpful, we see our favorite council consulting Rhaenyra and talking about we've lost Duskendale, we lost Rook's Rest, Daemon's just bailed on us, like, and then they put the cherry on top by mansplaining to Rhaenyra that you're actually not equipped to lead us because you're a woman. She's even like saying like, I want to fly to war. Like, all right, it's time. I'm going out there. And like, no, you can't do this. So real quick, Ben, do you think Rhaenyra should fly off to war? Show that she means business?
I do. And if nothing, because, okay, backtracking a little bit, when she went to meet with Alicent, right? That's not in the book. But since it happened in the show, if you're going to expose yourself like that, because that, to me, that's 10 times riskier than being on the back of a dragon, right?
For sure.
Like going with one man into King's Landing, like, anything could have happened. So if she was going to do that, then you can't play the card of, oh, they're not letting me. You just snuck out and did your own thing. Like, yeah,
do it.
Yeah, especially, and I don't know, just not. They have Vhagar, right? So they're obviously talking about how that's one of the biggest obstacles, and you have probably the best dragon on your side
left. Yeah, besides Daemon.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's a whole nother story
later, I'm sure.
But
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of her council members, but that one guy says, strike now while Vhagar is injured from the battle. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Vhagar is nowhere near 100% right at the moment. Maybe we slash her stomach open, bit her neck. Like,
yeah.
So it is a good time to attack King's Landing right now, but they're in such disarray after losing Rhaenys and trying to get some sort of ally down here to help them out on the ground because they have no army. So I get it why they wouldn't. It'd be pretty crazy.
One thing before I forget, I didn't know if we were going to touch on this. The only thing I wish they would have put in this episode that is in the book that they left out was Snake and Rhaenyra have like an epic shouting, like heated match when they find out what happened to his wife, and it's like in front of everybody. And so I was expecting that this episode, and I think that would have played well. I mean, it was still good, like seeing him. He shed the one tear, but I feel like he could have done both of those things.
He could do it next episode when he shows up to be hand. Maybe when he accepts his handship, kind of. But that wouldn't be a very good way to start things off.
I think he's past it now after the conversation with Baylor.
That's true.
Right. Interesting. And that would have given us another. I'm always down for emotional scenes like that. When we got the episode with Daemon and Rhaenyra going off at each other in the throne room, we got Aegon and Otto in that room, both in the same episode, and those were two amazing scenes because of their performances. So it's a bummer.
I mean, usually when things are like added that aren't in the book or like taken from it, you're like, yeah, I see reasoning, but like an emotional shouting match, like that's like, all right, as TV as it gets.
TV gold. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. They skipped that. Dude, Massaria. So she's come to be a pretty important piece in Team Black, which I wouldn't have guessed from her role in season 1. But yeah, she's a hell of an advisor. And she told Rhaenyra, she's like, yeah, they paraded Meleys' head through the streets. Like, she's the one who tells her they're going to see that as an ill omen. That wasn't a good idea. So she knows how to work propaganda for the small folk. So she's a solid person to have on your team. She saved Rhaenyra's life, obviously, when she saw Eric sneaking up. But so remind me, because I forgot, either one of you, if you remember, go ahead and chime in. Massaria and Rhaenyra ended up leading to Rhaenyra telling her handmaiden to go sneak into King's Landing. What was the end goal of that? Did we find out in this episode?
Yes. So I don't know if you guys.
She met up with the lady in King's Landing. That's all we saw.
But do you guys know who that was?
That the whore?
The whore that Aegon. Well, she
wasn't a whore then.
Yeah, Aegon like raped her, and Alicent gave her the moon tea when he was a kid.
The handmaiden?
Yes.
No, take that,
not
JD.
The handmaiden.
What?
Oh. Not the handmaiden. The blonde chick that answers the door in King's Landing.
But yeah, Dave's thinking.
But she was the one that Alicent gave her the tea and paid her off.
Yeah,
She's like, don't tell people that Aegon raped you.
that's the same. It's the same person. Yeah. So
So
there's
we had
something's gonna
Okay.
transpire from that.
Interesting.
If you go back to our coverage of season 1, covering I don't remember what episode it was, but me and JD had a disagreement of whether that was Plan BT or if she poisoned her and killed her. And I was thinking it was Plan BT, and JD was thinking that she ended up killing her by giving her that Plan BT.
No, it was the Plan
boom,
BT
she's
that
alive.
she herself has drinking plenty of times this season.
Right.
First and goal.
Yeah, I'll give it to my friend. Thanks.
Yeah.
She's a real whore back there, but
Asking
don't
for
worry
a
about it. I'll take
friend,
care of her.
Yeah. One more on Mysaria
Oh,
too.
God.
I think she's essentially like Rhaenyra's small counsel. Like she's
She's their best advisor now.
best advisor by far, and it's not even close. And I was like, when she talks to her, when she talks to even Bela one-on-one, it's just like so much more productive and not
Yes.
men just sitting around saying, "You're a woman," blah blah blah.
Yeah, like she's actually able to bounce ideas off of them and put together stuff and be like, you know what? Okay, we can do this and that. Whereas the whole time at the council, she's just defending herself or just like rolling her eyes at all their garbage they're talking. Like, yeah, Hand of the Queen candidate, maybe, if Corlys denies it.
Or
I don't
dies.
think he will, but Hand of the Queen, call it. What'd you say?
Said or dies, which is likely.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So all this leads to my future MVP, the phenom himself, Jacaerys. This kid's smart, man. I like him. We already talked him up a bit from the last episode. He got a little bit of swagger. I liked how he had the fire in him to call Rhaenyra out last episode. Like, where the hell have you been? We're waging this war, and you snuck out to go talk to Alicent. Like, I love what Jace has shown here. A lot of promise. The kid's got heart. So he thinks of the phrase in the river crossing at the Twins, and he's saying, like, if we secure that, Cregan Stark can march his graybeards down through that route. Like, he's the only. How is he the only one like thinking clearly as far as war strategy goes in this whole council? He's like 15, and he's just got this stuff down. We can do this and this. Like, he's just showing up everybody as far as wartime strategy goes.
Yeah, and in the book, Rhaenyra's like emotionally unstable, and he's making like all the decisions. Like he
Straight
sends
up.
the kids away. He's the one that decides that Corlys should be hanged. Like he's being the leader.
Wow.
And she's just kind of
Hell
like
yeah.
moseying around, for lack of a better term. But
Oh,
yeah, he's definitely been the MVP for them so far.
You mix strong with Targaryen. Well, one of the
Yeah.
strongs. Harwin. You don't mix
Mostly,
you,
yeah.
you don't mix Larys strong with Targaryens, and you have a kid jacking off to feet. But you mix Harwin strong. What was his name? Bonebreaker or something? Wasn't that his
Yeah.
nickname?
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes for a pretty dope kid, and he's learning after Daemon. He's picking up on a lot of the stuff Daemon did here in good ways.
Old Daemon.
Mainly the swagger, yeah, not so much the scumbag stuff he's doing. Yeah, no, I freaking love Jace. So we'll get back to him at the end of the episode because he has a dope moment to end it off. But for now, shoot over to the Vale. We got a dope shot of the Vale, which I was telling Lub, I was like, I don't think we've ever seen a shot like that of the Vale, which I was wrong. We do get a shot of it in season 1, but it's not as detailed. It's kind of like obviously a painting that you see in the background. But yeah, we got a cool shot of the bridge leading to the Vale, which is up in the mountains. It's obviously got the sky hole there. Saw Lady Jane Arryn, ancestor of Jon Arryn, the hand of the king to Aerys the Mad King Targaryen. It was Jon Arryn's murder that pretty much kicked off the Robert's Rebellion.
Well, not
and
no, Game of Thrones.
yeah,
You said
Robert's-
Robert's Rebellion.
is it
Robert's
not?
You said Rebellion.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
kicked
he's-
off
he's
the
already
events
king.
after Robert's Rebellion. I
Yeah.
got you.
Okay,
Yeah, he lived through that. He was the hand of the king for all those years for Robert Baratheon, and then he got killed. So it kicks off Game of Thrones. Thank you, Lub. You are correct.
Still want
the
those,
commenters
incels
have
on the-
nothing.
Yeah, the
Nothing
incels
on
on the
us.
internet. Don't say so.
But Lady Jane Arryn is also the woman who told Jacaerys that he had to bring her to climax with his tongue in order to gain the loyalty of the Knights of the Vale. So she is a classy lady. And she states, I'm loyal to Rhaenyra, even though Daemon was kind of a scumbag to his wife, and Rhaenyra doesn't have the
Killed
best
her.
choice in men. I'm still going to go with them. As we know, thanks to Vought, #girls get it done. So Lady Jane Arryn is on Team Black, ready to fight with Rhaenyra and Mysaria. And Alicent will come to find out that girls don't get it done on Team Green, but we'll get to that in a bit. Did you guys have anything on the Vale? It was a brief scene. It wasn't a lot, but
Maybe House Aaron's their like house words should be, "The veil is impregnable," because that's what everyone says. It's impregnable. Like you hear that throughout the entire Game of Thrones series, and now
12
first
good men,
mention
I'll
of
impregnate that bitch.
yeah, right.
Or one dragon.
Yeah, or one
Yeah,
dragon,
that
exactly.
too. That is true. Impregnable. We hear that a good amount regarding that. I thought you were gonna say the house word should be "make the bald man fly" or "make the little man fly." Classic Robin Aaron.
Is it over?
So, is it over?
We watched that yesterday.
Do you guys remember? I'm not going to sidetrack too much, but in Aegon's Conquest, when they go there, and it's a little kid that's like king too, and she just takes him and puts him on her dragon, and they do like 3 laps and comes back down, and he's like, "We're with them." So history of little kids just wanting to fly and have things fly.
Imagine securing one of the strongest kingdoms in Westeros by just giving a kid a dragon ride.
Yep.
Like, that's sick. Dragons, they're not just made to kill people. They can
Nope.
coax children too. All right, coerce. That's the wrong word. All right.
Yeah, we knew what you meant.
Yeah, you got me. Let's head to creepy ass Harrenhal, where Daemon pisses me off by the scene, really. He's with Caraxes, and he's not telling people to bow to Rhaenyra anymore. He says, "Bow to me," or yada, yada, yada.
You're king.
Bro, he is pissing me off. He's getting bold. I don't know, man. And then we get that dream with him, with his mother, and confirmed. So I took note. I'm like, don't tell me that's his effing mom. I swear if that's his mom. She said my favorite son, and unfortunately now I know it was indeed his mother. She died when Daemon was very young, so we didn't really know her. Not that that is an excuse for what the hell happened there. It's super weird, too. Alice Rivers at one point is like, "Too bad you didn't know your mother, huh?" Like right after that deal. So she knows the visions this man is like going through, I feel like. She straight up called that part out.
She's a witch for sure.
Bro, I don't know what her angle is, but yeah.
I wanted to make sure I brought this up while we were on here. In the book, like, she is not able to like touch him with her magic. Like, it doesn't phase him, which makes this whole thing... Like, he was probably maybe not my favorite character from season 1, but, like, you knew when he was on screen, like, something good was going to happen or shit was going to go down, like, regardless, right? And now he has spent probably half this season dreaming and hallucinating when it didn't even... And I get the aspect of, like, maybe it's Harrenhal doing it, not her, but still, like, he's gone so far down my list, and... I mean, I know it's not really his fault, but, like, man, he's...
No, I'm with you, though. I'm with you. And she did say the weirwood trees were cut down to, like, make the bed he's sleeping on and stuff, and that people... So it might just be Harrenhal, but I'm with you. Every time he popped up, as Lub saw, too, it's just he's just pissing me off. But I don't know. Lub, what do you think about Daemon?
They should have just made him, like, disappear for 2 episodes, then have him have, like, one... freak out Harrenhal episode, because I feel like it's just dragging on now. And everyone's just kind of waiting for him to get his shit together.
We got 3 episodes left. Like,
and I knew that, like we talked about coming off of episode 4, obviously this was going to be slower and more of a quote unquote filler, but also it's an 8 episode season, so
right.
You gotta like do a little bit of something, especially with him, like and his whole thing about like him being the king and it's gonna be him now, like that's not in the books. If that was really who Daemon was, he's had plenty of other opportunities to go down that path. So
see, that's what I don't like, and it's I wish maybe just one cut to him per episode if you really need to keep. But like we cut back to him 3 different times in this episode, and every time he's hallucinating in one point or the other. And like I want to root for this guy. I really like him. And he choked Rhaenyra last season, and that was tough to push through. And we keep making excuses for this guy, and he just continues to piss me off. It's like, okay, now you're not even helping Team Black. Like, you are just... Like, at one point, he goes out to meet the Lords of the Riverlands, and I think I said, like, are they actually here? Is he actually talking to the Lords of the Riverland, or is this a dream? I don't know what to believe. Freaking Jerry Garcia over here. I don't know what the hell's going on. He's just constantly hallucinating, and it's getting a bit played out. So I'm a little burnt out on him.
Yeah, and like in the book too, when he goes there, like they all are, the river people are all in. They're like, we're going for you. So he like gets the army right away. And we've spent like 3 episodes of where's Daemon? Oh, hopefully he's putting an army together. Where like it happened like instantly. So
yeah. I
Sticking to him.
do like the fact that he has respect for Bracken, where he's like, oh, they'd rather burn than serve. Those are the kind of people I need. Like that was like, oh hell yeah, there you go. And so he tells House Blackwood, go do what you need to do. There's certain things that the crown can't be seen doing. So go make Bracken kneel, and they'll, abide by us, and they'll serve for us. And of course, the Blackwood just totally goes over the line and starts, I don't know what they were doing, killing women and children, burning the seps, raping people. And
everything.
All
with the flag.
while wearing the flag. Yeah, after he the whole point of this was the crown can't be seen to be doing these things. So he goes, all right, let's rep the flag. Like,
yeah.
It's just, I will say, in Daemon's defense,
maybe they're going somewhere with that too. We'll see.
Yeah,
but
and they might be. I gotta say, in Daemon's defense, though, this is like the 3rd horrific thing that's happened. That he kind of has gotten the short end on, that keep just being attributed to him. Like, I still don't know about Jacaerys. Obviously, he said, go bring me back Aemond. He has one eye. He's a skilled fighter. We didn't see what he said when the guys asked, what do we do if we can't find Aemond? We didn't see that. But we don't know that he said, kill Jacaerys, cut his head off. We had something in season 1 with Rhaenyra where he didn't actually have sex with her in the whorehouse, but he never came out and just said, no, we didn't, for some reason. But so he got the Jacaerys atrocity that he obviously has a ton of guilt behind, and now this Bracken thing where they're all like, well, how do we know you didn't order them to commit all these atrocities? And it's like, dude, Daemon does enough stuff to make him look bad. He doesn't need to get all these other horrors added onto his resume when he actually didn't do these ones. So I feel for him a little, but he's pissing me off. He better do something next episode.
And after the Blackwoods or the Brackens came back and basically said we're not gonna be bannermen for a tyrant, and then Alice says, is that the type of army you'd raise, men who hate you? And that's so true. It's like you can't have, they're already fighting this war they don't want to be in the first place, with these dragons flying overhead and burning people alive. Now you're gonna have guys who hate you fighting on your side. Like when Vhagar flies over, they're all running for their lives. Like, they're not going to stay and fight for you if you bring them on like this.
Hell no. Why? Why would you want to? Like, and that comes up in Game of Thrones. I can't remember the reference, but somebody's like, yeah, they're fighting because they're fighting for somebody they love. They're not fighting because they were paid money. Like, that's why they fight harder. That's why they fight better. It's because they actually believe in the cause. So
I think it's Dothraki.
Or the Unsullied, either.
Yeah, both. Goes for both of them, too.
I don't know if you guys can see this, but...
Hey!
Speaking of...
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Settle down. All right.
Sorry, we forgot to text you to give you the memo.
Game of Thrones shirt on. All right. Jeez. I got a tattoo of Drogon on my butt cheek, okay? But I'm not going to show that right now. All right. The episode ends with Team Green and Team Black both making moves. So let's go to Team Green first. We'll wrap up with Team Black. We get yet another thing. Small council. We just saw Rhaenyra get shot down because she's a woman. Now we're at Team Green, and they're deciding who's going to take Aegon's place. And Alicent's like, I ruled while Viserys was dead for 10 years there, essentially. Like, yeah, that was time of peace, though. Basically, it all boiled down to, well, the queen's got experience. Yeah, but she's a woman. And I gotta say, it's interesting that both teams in the same episode both said the exact same thing. Like, we got scenes from both teams saying, well, you're a woman, you can't. That was a little hitting you over the head with it. But Larys chooses Aemon to rule. Kristen chooses Aemon to rule. Alicent's sitting there feeling useless. And I gotta say, Alicent, I'm not sure what you expected when you took the side of the realm that plants their flag on Rhaenyra can't be the heir because she's a girl. So I don't know what you're expecting to happen there.
Yeah.
They weren't going to pick you to lead, though. I start with that. But Ben, what do you think of Aemon, how that all rolled out and Aemon being chosen?
Yeah, I mean, it it was the right choice, obviously, and for all the reasons they said, just especially like you just said, you're building your case on the person you're going against as a woman. She's not the rightful heir, and I think she maybe just overlooked that and not blinded, but she just knows Aemond is like just wants blood, and that's it, and is not fit to be a king.
Yeah,
there's this is obvious, but so many similarities between him and Daemon. They're like very close to the same person, just like slight differences. But in that aspect, especially, like great warriors, great commanders, but like cannot make decisions outside of battle.
right. Well, and they're both second sons who feel like they were overlooked and are more talented and more skilled than their younger son. They're both looked as being extreme and going over the line on stuff like that. And they're both, Aemon becomes king. Daemon's telling people to call him king. A ton of parallels between those two.
Right. And then Cole, he's just scared of Aemon. Like, after what happened, I feel like he just doesn't want to mess with him now. And he's like, yeah, he can be king. Like, I'm not going to go against this guy right now.
I couldn't tell if that was dragon PTSD or also, holy crap, he burned his own brother. And was he going to kill him there? I don't know, but I don't know what he's capable of now.
Yeah.
I think probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
You know,
just shook.
And I think maybe in the past he would have been like the one guy to stand up for her, but I think he probably truly believes that too. Like he's thinking the same thing as everyone. Like, we can't have a woman leading us. It just goes against what we're fighting against.
Yeah, it seemed genuine. It didn't seem like the petty Kristen we've seen multiple times about like, no, I'm not choosing. Like, he was like scared.
Right.
You can't do this, Alicent. Yeah.
But to take it back to Alicent, and she's just desperate to have some sort of power because she's lost it all. And like, and Rhaenyra just told her the truth about Aegon's prophecy and Aegon not being Viserys' real choice. And then Aegon didn't listen to her after she told him to just kind of sit back, do nothing. He goes out to the battle, almost dies, and then she finds out basically Aemond was kind of behind it all, trying to kill his own brother or had something to do with it. She doesn't know yet. So, and then I like how that scene where the audio starts to fade out, and then she's just sitting there like what the fuck did I get myself into? Like,
Right. Miss my dad.
I was thinking during that scene that it was she's starting to just like hear Rhaenyra's words more and is just like doubting herself a little, like, she was right. Like, okay, maybe she. And as time goes, she's just kind of like, oh, I was wrong.
Whoops.
Maybe the biggest mess up of all time. But
whoops, a mistake. She's definitely regretting some stuff right now. So, but Aemon kicked in. He immediately started making moves. Ordered the gates to be closed. Ordered the rat. And someone cut down the rat catchers. His last little order there. So it's showing that he's definitely more well suited to do this than Aegon. And it also shows he's been planning this. He knew what orders he was going to make as soon as he came into this position. He's like, all right. Whips out a list of 30 things. These are the first things we're going to start now under my new rule. He was ready.
We'll meet at First of Light tomorrow morning. Like 6 a.m.
Yeah, he's ready. Well, and he had that line when they're looking for Aegon at the end of season 1, where Aegon's about to be made king, and they're sick of trying to find him in the whorehouses, and he goes, when they look to me when the crown is vacant, I'll make sure they're able to find me. I butchered the line, but basically he's like, when it's my time, I'm going to be ready. Like, when it's my time for the crown, and he wasn't lying. He's ready, so...
And I'll give it to him, too. I think we're talking about the parallels between him and Daemon. He is definitely much more... He would be a better king than Daemon.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Just because he's big on knowledge. He's big on studying things. He's aware of stuff outside of battle, like politics and needing money for things, that kind of deal.
Straight up. He'll definitely do better. Let's head on over to Dragonstone. Team Black, before we head out of here. Well, real quick, I guess we'll head over to the twins. Vermax. We saw Vermax for the first time since last season. He's looking pretty big. Like I thought it was Cyrax at first. He's been eating his Wheaties, that's for sure. And Jay shows up to the twins, talks to the Freys, gets them to pretty much ally with them. He did pretty good. He held his ground. The Frey guy was kind of giving him a little bit of lip here and there, and Jace held it down. So they got the Freys. They're coming to town. They're going to have their back. Did you guys have anything on the twins before I skip on there? It wasn't a long scene, but
he doesn't mess around. He cuts to the Jace.
I regret asking.
But did he do a good job negotiating? I mean, Harrenhal for a bent knee, is that a good trade? I guess Harrenhal's
nobody
steaming
wants
pile of shit.
Harrenhal. Yeah, I don't think.
I think if it was something more esteemed, I know it's like it is Harrenhal, but at the same time, it's like also this is contingent on like a lot of things happening.
Yeah,
right.
So it's like, okay, well,
your men die now. You get Harrenhal
you can have
later.
Harrenhal.
Yeah,
if we can die and then no, that never happened.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. They must have been drunk. That didn't happen. But no, I think if you can confidently secure the Frey like that, House Frey, who hold a crucial area of Westeros, in order to get to King's Landing, you have to pass through there for a lot of ways. So I think that's clutch. And as we saw Rob blow that one, shout out Rob Stark. But to me, when I was watching that scene, it felt like, to put it into football terms, like you have a player who just tore his ACL for the season, and somebody's like, let me trade for him. And it's like, all right, I'll give you him, but you got to give me, and you just get something, I don't know. It felt like he knew he wasn't giving up anything. He's like, okay, you can have it, but, we really like it. But
they were in dire need of a small victory, too. You just lost a dragon, and a really pivotal character, and you need something. So if you got to give up a little bit, then it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a win. The Freys can trip out in Harrenhal and start questioning reality all they want. I don't think anybody else needs to go there. So Rhaenyra offers Corlys Hand of the Queen, which Baela delivers to him. They talk about that on Driftmark, about Rhaenyra, or about Rhaenys, and as Ben said earlier, you could tell Corlys did care about Rhaenys. And there was one line where Baela says, like, I know everything you did and worked for was for her, and it like hits him. Like, oh yeah, no, he was doing everything for Rhaenys. He loved Rhaenys. He respected her. He wanted to make her proud. Essentially, he wanted to bring her that crown that she didn't get back then. But yeah, it was kind of sad when that hit. I was like, oh, I believe it. I believe he did it all for Rhaenys. So that was rough.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite scene of the episode. I think just because she hit like different parts of his heart, if that makes sense. Like she was like, yeah, we know you can leave to sea for years, you've done it before, and then like did what you just said, and then she kind of like she made a good case for him and left him like, okay, I need to be a part of this, like if nothing else for her, my other grandchildren.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he really needed that pep talk in that moment, because he just lost his wife, and they obviously have the strongest relationship in this entire series out of anyone we've seen. Like, they actually love each other, which is rare in Game of Thrones. So yeah, he doesn't really trust Team Black a lot. Like, he's had his mix-ups with the Targaryens before, so he doesn't want to rush back into things after losing his wife. But his granddaughter told him the right things.
It was pretty rough, where he like makes a thing. He's like, I want to make you heir of Driftmark. And she goes, I'm of fire and blood. Driftmark must go to salt and sea. Just kind of like, nah, I'm Targaryen. I don't need this water. Bastard child. Yeah, bro. It's kind of like, I felt like he needed to hear you be.
Some kind of foreshadowing in there, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Caleb just touched on. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it was good though. And you said Corlys and Rhaenys had like the best relationship in the show. It's interesting. I don't know if you've watched any of like the promo stops, but when they do interviews with the cast, Eve Best and Steve Toussaint, they it seems like they're married in real life. Like they have such good chemistry in all the interviews and everything. Like you could tell, it's like, oh, that's why it came so genuine in the show. Like they just work really well together. So shout out to both of them. Shout out Eve Best, R.I.P. Ooh. No, Eve Best is still alive. R.I.P. Rhaenys.
Jeez.
Eve is healthy and well.
Knock on wood, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get to Jace, Rhaenyra, this is funny. So Rhaenyra sends Sir Alfred off. I don't know what house he is, but he's the guy who keeps chirping, and it's like, bro, shut up. Like, you keep talking trash. And he's sent off to go ask Daemon what his intentions are to make sure Daemon's still on their side. And I gotta say, so Sir Alfred got some hate from me, for sure, from everybody, and he's still not handling things the best. But I do respect his loyalty, and I get it's coming from a place of frustration. You know, she says, "I know you're not going to Team Green." He said, "I'll die before I go to Team Green." So he's loyal to Team Black. He's just frustrated. Like, we need to do something. We're not doing anything, and right now Rhaenyra hasn't really bought his trust in how to handle this. So I would give him a little bit of grace there. I've been frustrated with Rhaenyra's lack of action watching the show, so I'll give him that. But he is Team Black.
I feel like he's loyal for the wrong reasons, because he hates the Hightowers, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Daemon on Harrenhal and just joins him and doesn't come back. And like, oh, you're a man, you're in charge, yeah. And Daemon's claiming like it's my throne now. I'm the king, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'll stay with you. Let's do it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not a fan of this guy. Yeah.
Well, I'm still against Team Green, but that's an excellent point, and I would not be surprised if we see that happen now. But shit,
I'm interested to see Damon's reaction to him just even showing up and being there, especially in his current state of mind. Like, wouldn't be surprised also if he just cuts his head off without even saying a word, hallucinating
alone,
or something. Yeah, like. Who knows at this point with David?
And it's going to be a wild card encounter, that's for sure. We'll see if he makes it out alive. But all right, last scene. Jace is talking to Rhaenyra. My boy, God, I've been talking about wanting to see Vermithor coming to life. Like, who's going to bring him in? Daemon was singing to him last season. That was there for a reason. Vermithor is going to be brought in, which. If you haven't listened to any of our prior episodes, because we've talked about him every time, I think. He's the second largest living dragon, second to Vhagar. Absolute unit. And who rode him? Did Jacaerys ride him at one point?
No.
I know, he rode Velaryon. No, Jacaerys did ride him back in the day.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't know why Vermithor stopped. Yeah, I don't know, but... King Jacaerys the First, rode him. Yeah, known as the Bronze Fury,
the last and the only so far.
Straight up. So the Bronze Fury, not the Bronze Bomber. He's bigger and better. Nobody's gonna get that reference. It's a boxing thing. It's fine. But so I'm stoked. Jace is basically like, we have wild dragons. There's dragon seeds. Straight up says there's dragon seeds out there we know of. We've got to have a docket on bastard children that have come from our lineage,
or half-blood.
Oh yes, the half-blood. He brings up the idea, let's get Targaryen blood on those wild dragons. Like, we need it. And dude, he started the season getting the Starks. He got their loyalty. He got the Vale. He just got the Frey, and now he's getting us to get dragon seeds on Vermithor. Like, this man on his own is MVP of Team Black. I can't say enough. He is putting it on his back, and he is taking him to King's Landing,
Cavaliers LeBron almost.
I was gonna say he's LeBron 2018.
Yeah, or not. Somebody else too.
You set yourself up for that one.
Can't even say Jordan because he had Pippen. All right. Anyways, dude, but I'm stoked on this. So, Lub, what'd you think of this scene? Did this get your blood pumping?
Oh yeah, I mean, because they need someone to replace Rhaenys, and they've been. They didn't show Hugh and the other guy on accident, like, and they both have problems with the king and what's going on with Team Green right now, especially Hugh. Hugh was trying to get out of the city. He looks up, he sees Meleys, like, he's ready to get on a dragon. I hope he rides Vermithor. He's my favorite of the bastards so far.
Straight up. Well, I think Adam's getting sea smoke probably, who we saw in Driftmark, but yeah. What'd you think, Ben?
Yeah, it was good, and I don't want to say I didn't like the scene, but with how slow the episode was, I felt like it could have been like a 3/4 of the way through scene and then end with something like, okay, we had this slower one, you know what I mean?
That's true.
Still liked it, still liked the entire episode, but just, if we're gonna have a quote-unquote filler, like, throw us something big at the end, But
just give us a scene of Vermithor flying out of the cave or lighting something on fire or something. Yeah. No, when it happened, the screen went black, and me and Lub were watching it last night, and I think we're both like, oh, wait. Don't show credits. Hold on. No.
Yeah,
it's not over now.
I thought something was coming next too, but
yeah, the black screen lasted a little bit longer than usual. I was like, okay, let's credits. Shit. All right. But yeah, so it was a slow episode. Like I said, kind of expected it, but I would say it's probably on the lower end as far as the season goes. It might be at the bottom, which is, it doesn't say a lot because all the episodes have been great. But Ben, where was this on your list so far?
I think it's, like you just said, it's got to be at the bottom, but it's not at a knock to it. Like, it wasn't a bad episode. It's just so much more has happened in the other episodes that...
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we got some next on clips. We saw some dragon action. So we are going to be kicking back into action for next week. We have 3 episodes left. And I have no idea where this season is ending because obviously there's another season coming. Possibly a 4th. I don't think it's really set in stone how many they're doing, but there's at least a 3rd one coming. So it leaves me to believe that it leaves me a little concerned that the next 3 episodes aren't going to be packed full of stuff if there's a whole nother season left. But again, I haven't read Fire and Blood for a while, so I forget all the events that happen in between. But, Stark's still got to march south. The Starks are still going to play a part in this. There's still a lot to be done, but we have 3 episodes left, so hopefully they can jam pack them full of some dope shots and some dope sequences. I don't know where they're at with this. Do you guys?
There's going to be another
without
death,
spoilers. Okay.
I'd say someone dies by the end of the season too. I hope it's not another member of Team Black, but I can't think of anyone on Team Green that would be in the line of fire. You know what I mean? Because
if Kristen makes it another season,
yeah, I guess Kristen could be the guy, but I don't think he. I mean, maybe they go back, and I feel like it's just going to be dragons from now on.
Well, I'm hoping that's the case. He gets eaten by a dragon.
There you go.
That's what I want to see. But Ben, without any spoilers, what are you expecting?
I'm trying to not. I'm processing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe you shouldn't give us your expectations.
No, it'll be interesting at what point they end this season, because before I watched this episode yesterday, I texted you guys and was like, how are they going to fit all this? But with how slow this episode was, I could see them going like crazy episode, slower, and just kind of riding that wave. And there's plenty of stuff to make it another season. But
straight up,
it'll be interesting where they choose to end this season at. So
we'll just say, is there a good
careful?
Is there a big event that happens? Soon.
I'm thinking one in my head, and I'm not going to say it for Dave's sake.
Like one that could be the season finale.
Without saying what it is there a possibility?
Season finale and timeline wise, there's one thing in my head that lines up really good. So
okay.
All right, so we got some.
If it happens, we will pull the tape on this, and I'll tell you, yep, that was what I was thinking.
We'll know exactly what you were talking about. We'll have to bring you back on maybe, and then get your follow up thoughts on that. But I have one of the main complaints I have seen because there's a lot of people who are like, they've butchered this show from what the book was, like a surprising amount and it's not the majority, it's still a very well received, but when you go to actual Game of Thrones pages, like there's a lot of just like with Rings of Power, the token fans who say it's an absolute crime against humanity what Rings of Power is. Some people are saying that about House of the Dragon and all the changes, and I'm like, I know some change, but there weren't like drastic changes that have like ruined the story. But one of the complaints from that group is that they're rushing it and they're not taking enough time on certain things and they keep skipping over stuff. So I don't think that's the case, but if it is, that means they have plenty of stuff to work with if they want to fill in a couple more seasons.
But the Battle of Rook's Rest was like a paragraph or two. Right. You know what I mean? It was like maybe a page at tops. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they're rushing things at all. It's just there's a lot of important things left to cover, so I can see them like trying to get to that part because it's more dense, if that makes sense. Like this part of the book is kind of like Caleb just said, like a paragraph, and it's almost rushed in the book a little bit.
It is. They fly through things.
Yeah. And then what I'd presume will be season 3 is a lot more, it goes a little bit deeper into depth, so.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. We're going to be tuning in. We're going to be covering it, of course, because this is the best show on TV right now. The boys and the Acolyte combined, of all their peak moments, do not match up to this episode that we just watched in this show, in my opinion. So we'll be covering it. Don't you worry. Shots fired, but stay tuned. We'll be bringing you more coverage. As I said, stay tuned. Boys, season two. The second half of season 4, we'll be covering that once it ends. The finale of Acolyte, we might be covering. I don't know. We just covered episodes 6 and 7, and we're pretty bummed with what we got. So I can't see the finale being something so incredible we have to take an entire episode to cover it, unless we just rip it again. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be a combination with Weekend Geek.
We should just rip it. Let's rip it on its own episode.
It's just as fun to rip shows as it is to cover stuff we like. So we'll be back. We'll put the Acolyte back in the target sites. But for now, keep your eyes set on House of the Dragon. Thank you for joining us here. As always, thank you to my co-host, Caleb Culver, and thank you to our special guest, Ben Donohue, for joining us here. It was a pleasure. Your mic held up pretty solid, and I think for your first time on a pod, the lines were flowing pretty smooth. So you did good. Everybody give him a round of applause and thank him for coming on to the show, and we'll have to bring him on again in the future. As always,
for having me.
Yes, of course. Sorry, I tossed the softball up to you and then I swatted it right back down before you hit it. So, but thank you to the audience for joining us, and we will see you next time on Why So Sidious, a Nerd Podcast.